Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution and part of the problem. In a few minutes, we'll welcome guest Charles Rogers, but I want to get some information out there real quick. Hello, Jackie. Good to see you. Long time no see. Thanks for being here. And hello, Charles.
I've still got an echo over here.
You just now started, huh? So we need to remember to be careful who you trust. The pedophiles, child sex traffickers, child murderers, terrorists can portray self as being the friendliest and most trustworthy people, but they tend to be the deadliest. After the completion of his task and wrongful convictions, Charles Rogers took the task of attaining the identities of those in association with Bentley Farms, the Bentley family, and Bentley Farms of Marietta, Georgia. I fell victim to their child sex trafficking organization. Charles almost did when he was a child. I support his accusations against Joel Pugh of Cobb County and his involvement from my personal experience with him and truly support your daddy's wise decision in this case. This goes to Mrs. Hunt over there in North Carolina. The large number of other victims and relatives can recover from these sick and twisted individuals. Joel Pugh looks like the man I met at a dating site. He was a take me to Bainbridge, Georgia, where sister lived. At this percent time, I did not remember about the trafficking, or it did not hit my mind. It's almost like I was MK Ultra before or whatever. I'm not really sure on why I did not remember at the time. I met him under the username of BUTTERBRAINS. That's what I knew him as. He was reluctant on giving me his real name. And a couple of months had passed. The guy I was with, he was cheating on me, and he was seeing other people. So I was on my trying to meet other people too. So that's how I met him. The guy was going to have his place repossessed, and so I could not go where he was going to be going. So this Butterbrains was going to take me to my sister's house in Bainbridge, Georgia. When arriving at his place, he seemed to not know what key to use on the home. When he showed me around the house, parts were off limits. As he showed me around the house, when he went into the bedroom closet, he removed some paneled boards. It was a hidden bedroom. No one would know how to get to it. As he told me, he said, if you go in that room, I could board it back up. You could be looking out the window, and the police would see you, and then come in here and try to help you, but they could not save you because they would not have to would know how to get into that hidden bedroom. So after that, he kept trying to convince me to go into that bedroom. I refused. He claimed the construction crews did it way after the tornado damage instead of how it was. He said it only messed up part of the roof, so that did not make sense to close up into the closet if it only did roof damage, right?
Right.
I called my sister on the home phone to let her know I was going to stay in the Atlanta area for a few days. Butterbrains walked outside. I hung up and hurriedly walked outside. Just in time, Butterbrains was about to cut the phone lines. I told him not to worry. I was not going to my sister's, so he did not cut the lines. I told him later the next day I would clean up some in the kitchen. I had to do something to keep myself busy while he worked on a computer. He saw I was organizing. He forgot he left mail on a table. I said, "Who is Joel Pugh?" "You said you are Jeff Fiala." He said he used to live here, that Joe Pugh used to live there. Butterbrains went back upstairs. Something told me to sneak upstairs to find out what was going on. He was on the computer. I saw he was talking with 5 or 6 others, but I could not see who they were. I overheard him asking them what they wanted him to do with me, sorry. I said I'll just leave, don't worry. He ran after me trying to convince me to stay. I said okay for now. He left and went somewhere in the vehicle. I called my ex-boyfriend. This ex-boyfriend saved his home, so he told me to come back. We went to a few places, but he stayed in another area. One place is called Wild Bill's. I rode the bull. I was offered the chance to sing on stage with a singer because he claimed he loved my voice as he heard me singing along. I feared retribution if I did that. I told him the next morning after he got back home from supposedly buying about 30 more lottery tickets. I informed him I was going home to my boyfriend. He begged and pleaded and said, "No, I was, I, no." When I was about to go out the door to leave, Butterbrains opened the basement door. I asked him what was down there. He said, "Go and see." I thought it was a trap. I stated, "If you go down first," which showed me he was going to try to kidnap me. I was lucky he took me to meet my boyfriend. He tried to make him jealous by trying to cuddle me when he walked up. I jumped up and ran to my boyfriend, and I was safe. So that was my deal with Butterbrains that is affiliated with the people over there at Bentley Farms. Am I right or wrong, Charlie?
You're correct. He's a former investigator for the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. Um, I've not been able to name him as a suspect in the homicide of John Benet Ramsey, um, but like I've been able to name some of the others from the Cobb County government. Mike McLaughlin,
Yes.
um, and of course Grady Moore. Um, I've not been able to name him as a suspect in her homicide. Now they are suspects in the Atlanta child murders. They're also suspects in the homicides of Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, Christopher Byers of West Memphis, Arkansas, and of course 11-year-old Levi Frady of
That's
County.
sick and twisted how the daddy set him up like that. Do that to his own child, right?
Yes, that is just terrible. When Albert Samples told me about that, I just cringed at that thought that any parent, especially a dad, could sit there um, and allow their child to go through such torture and humiliation that Levi went through before Milton returned to see him for the last time. Um, to my understanding, from what I gathered from Albert Samples, was that he was assaulted and um, brutally assaulted by um, Marshall Talbot before my brother Fred, Roger Nance, and Eric Rudolph and them arrived. But
Was the big bird guy part of that too over there at John Bonet's that you know of?
according to him, he was. That is.
This is
I
Albert
believe.
Samples, everybody.
Well, I believe him being. I believe him when he said he was related to Jill Robinson. Um, because he is from Flint, Michigan, and um, I know he was involved in the induction of Levi Frady. According to him, he was initiated into the Stealth Cult during the West Memphis Three homicides. That's when him and apparently Eric Rudolph both were initiated. Was in the homicides of those 3 8-year-old boys.
So here's a Home Depot guy, Craig Manier, that we're talking about.
Hmm. Yeah, I call him Big Bird. Um,
Look at the fluffy, look at the shape.
yeah, yeah. What we do have in common is he does not like me, and I'm sure as hell don't like him. So we do have common ground there.
Right?
Um, but he did not go to work for the Home Depot Corporation until around September the 19th, 1997, but he was involved in the attempted truck bombing of the Home Depot corporate headquarters on June 19th of 1997. Um,
Here's Eric
executives.
Rudolph.
Mhm. Home Depot started out as a um, Jewish ran corporation. Arthur Blank, he was former IDF. Bernie Marcus was former IDF.
Let's
Ron
see, Bernie.
Drill,
See,
Ken
Bernie
Langone.
Marcus. I was hoping to click on each one as you said it. So here's Bernie
Mhm.
Marcus right here.
Yeah, Bernie just passed away this year at 94.
Who was that other one you said a few seconds ago?
Ken Langone,
Uh, you said somebody else's name.
Arthur Blank,
Oh,
and
Arthur
Ron
Blank.
Drill.
Okay. Ron Real. Arthur Blank. Let me see. I don't see Arthur Blank's here right here. Oh, there he is up here. There's Arthur Blank right
Yeah,
here.
he's the owner.
What he with Atlanta parade? Atlanta.
Yeah, he owns the Atlanta Falcons and the Atlanta United soccer team.
Oh, okay. You said Ron
Um,
Real also.
yeah, I don't know the name of the. Um, yeah, that's one picture of Ron without his mustache, and of course you see one there. I think and he's growing his beard there with his wife. But that's why I suggested the um, title, the friendliest devils in the world, because these are some of the friendliest people you'll meet. When you meet them, they'll be real nice and friendly and all of that. But you give them half a chance, they'll kill you in a New York second. Um,
Mentioned Grady Moore a while ago, and this is Grady Moore here.
yes, I believe he's in private practice as a defense attorney now instead of a prosecutor. He's no longer with the district attorney's office.
And these are different affiliations, even though some of these people were good. There's some of the good people here. We will pinpoint out there was Matt Darrington, which was the boyfriend of Beth Ramsey, that was also murdered.
Yeah,
Let me go to Beth, see if I got her picture up here. I should have it up here. I don't see it right there, but it's got to be one
you
with
got
her
to with her
daddy. Here
dad.
it is right here. Yeah, John and Beth Ramsey right here. Let me get it bigger right here. Beautiful young lady.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart.
I wish I had a picture when you what her friend's name was that was there as well.
Yeah, I wish I had more information on her.
And this is Joel Pugh right here.
Yes, that is Butterbrain. Yeah, their nicknames really get me because um, it's like the police gang of Fourth Precinct called themselves the Rat Pack, and that was Sergeant Glenn Turner, Mike Archer, David Donkerton, and I forgot some of the other officers' name of the Fourth Precinct. Um, but they were part of the Bentley group themselves. And of course, Glenn, he died from ethylene glycol. His wife, Lynn Turner, got convicted for his murder. And of course, the homicide of her boyfriend, Forsyth County deputy turned firefighter Randy Thompson, of Cumming, Georgia. And according to Marilyn Parkman, Levi's mother, during my interview with her in 19,
Morning. Morning, Colleen.
I believe it was Thompson who did a routine traffic stop and seized over $3,500 worth of methamphetamine.
Oh, wow.
Milton Frady. It was on consignment to them from the Talent brothers and the McRays of the Radio Shack in Murphy, North Carolina. And that drove their drug debt up to right around $78,000. And of course, that's what the Marilyn Parkman was told by Milton, that they were just going to kidnap Levi, and all he had to do was come up with the money to pay the drug debt, and they were going to return him. So he was going to borrow the money toward his $40 million inheritance he received 10 days after his son's murder to pay off the debt. So, of course, that didn't happen, and Levi wound up murdered.
And this is Ken Magone that you was talking about a little bit a while ago, too.
Yes, ma'am. He's a former IDF, to my understanding. All of them that started the Home Depot were former IDF during the 6-Day War in 1967, and since they were the troop that successfully took the Golan Heights, so they wound up getting a free ticket to the United States to open shop over here.
Oh, boy.
And so what we're talking about is a Mossad takeover of corporate America and of the United States government.
I got a question for you right quick, okay? Okay, let me share this one picture right here of Beth Ramsey, too, with Patsy and John. But this girl right here, who is she? Is she a victim?
Yeah, she's a homicide victim of the Cobb County Police Department.
Do you remember what her name is?
Cheryl Underwood.
Cheryl Underwood? Okay.
She went.
I know she's one of the innocent ones too, and I did not want to portray her in any sense, as being one of the bad ones here,
Well, she attended Wheeler High School. I don't know if she graduated or not, but she was sex trafficked by her foster dad.
Oh, man.
I became real good friends. I actually became friends with her and her foster brother, David Ackerman. And of course, they wound up killing David.
Oh
Um,
boy.
just after I guess New Year's of 1998, they got rid of him.
How was he at the time?
He was my age. Um,
Oh boy.
yeah, he would be turning. I guess would have turned 60 this year.
Do you
Great
think that
guy.
he was trafficked as a kid by them?
No, I don't think he was, but she was,
Mm.
and um, she wound up marrying this guy in the army, and I don't remember where he was stationed at, but him and her split up there for a long time. Then, when she got back with him for a short period of time, then the first night she went back to work at the Conoco gas station there, Caddy Corners. Well, not Caddy Corner, across the street from Sprayberry High School, was the night that I saw her meeting with the police. And they found her body about 2 years later off of Scufflegrit Road and had her as unidentified remains. So a lot of people in that area that knew the police and the deputies used to go in the gas station where she worked at. There was no reason for her to be unidentified because she dated some of the police officers.
Well,
But last year, they came out that they had her identified, but they were withholding her identity from the public.
I went back, and when I was thinking about doing this thing on this Butterbrains, I
Mm.
had come across the letter that I wrote Mrs. Hunt,
Uh-huh.
that I wrote for you. Um, and then I found the information in here. And you also had told me before that when I told you of the state trooper and I told you his last name, and you said about somebody had told you that that name also is Greenhall. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I don't remember the lady's name up in Andrews, North Carolina. I had a discussion with that was talking about the Bentleys, and she brought up the last name Greenhalls from Alabama.
Uh huh.
So she did mention their names. This was both around the time that I met with Mark Gold, and we had our meet. I believe this is just after I met with him that I met with this lady.
Yeah, the two main ones that I had heard of more so than the rest of them that's not affiliated with my family was W.D. Greenhall and Johnny Greenhall. Johnny Greenhall was the state trooper who told me he remembered me from all the child pornos that his daddy W.D. Greenhall did to me.
Well, that name sounds familiar. Um, I remember correctly, that was one of the names that she brought up was Johnny Greenhall.
Yeah, he was an Alabama state trooper.
Yeah.
So he was big into that, and some of the other state troopers were busted since then of having child porn. And part of me wonders whether or not it was possibly some of the videos with that had me in it. That's kind of scary. Um, I had talked with a lady when I had done this human trafficking course, and I said, "How do I go about trying to see if my tapes are out there, whether I'm safe?" Of course, they're going to be out there somewhere, and they might never find them, of course. but they said something about me needing to go to that sheriff's office and they do a search, and I'm like, I can't trust the sheriff's office. Excuse me, that's going to put me more in danger going back down there and trying to get something done.
Well, the the system is so corrupt at the moment. It's at the peak of corruption that it's been for a very long time. It's just now coming into view of the American people because you got to remember we were groomed and we were programmed to support Israel. Okay,
Yeah, because
now
no matter what, we were not supposed to speak bad against Israel.
that's right. And now you can't help but speak bad about Israel. And it's like I tell people all the time, I have more Jewish blood in me than Benjamin Netanyahu. Um, I call him the Count BB because he was still part of this bunch. Um, he didn't go to Israel until the early 1990s.
I
He was
thought a,
very much here in the United States.
I thought a lot of the true Israelites basically fled away from over there years ago.
Well, I ran into the problem up there in Murphy, North Carolina. I kept hearing this crap. Oh, did you know we're the lost tribes of Israel? And I'd be like, well, yeah, but why are you the lost tribes of Israel? They couldn't answer, and I'd tell them, well, that's because you got divorced. You know, and it was upsetting to a lot of them because a lot of them up there, white supremacists. Um, the majority are white separatists. They're not really what you call supremacists. They believe in, you know, tribal, sticking to your own race, you know, and not marrying outside your race. And that's what we call white separatists. They're really not white supremacists. They're not members of the Klan or nor Aryan Republican Army or they just have the belief in staying married, keep it marriage within Caucasian and not outside. Um, but that's that was a big thing in the 90s up there, and it's still pushed because it's really the Mossad that is pushing the white supremacy and the black supremacy and the Jewish supremacy and all this
Yes.
stuff because, and of course the Hispanics and all that, they've always, before you can conquer, you must divide. You cannot conquer the united people. Only way
Right.
you can conquer a nation is if the people are divided. And that's exactly what they've done in this country with the mainstream media, the entertainment industry, because it's mostly Jewish ran, Jewish owned. And what we're finding is not all the Jewish people are supportive of that Zionist state because it does not represent them. It's a white supremacy organization is what it is.
Hey, can you hold on a minute? I want to remind people that just because it says Eric Kiss right here, it's not Eric Kiss. It actually is Charles Rogers using Eric Kiss's laptop right now, okay?
Yes, yeah,
So
that's
it
right.
is Charles Rogers. You can tell by the voice. I'm sorry, I just had to reiterate and say
Yeah.
that.
So it's like the Charlie Kirk assassination. One of the first things BB did was get up and deny any involvement in his assassination. Well, that was right off the rip. So whenever Netanyahu sits there and tells you that they had nothing to do with Charlie Cook's assassination, what he's actually saying is they were behind Charlie Cook's assassination.
Wow.
It's like whenever um, he appeared before the UN and Congress about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. Well, Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction. President Clinton went in there and whooped them into compliance. And so he no longer had weapons of mass destruction. So we go to war with Iraq over false pretenses from bad Israeli intelligence, is what it boils down to. Because there was no weapons of mass destruction. They always talk about Iran being a threat. Iran is no more of a threat to the United States than the state of Texas is. Okay. Israel is a threat to Iran. Israel is a threat to all these countries, Yemen, Afghanistan. They're always a threat to someone, and they're always jumping up. They have the right to defend themselves. Well, they're the bullies on the block, is who they are. I always compared Israel since 2013, after that invasion of my house, as the spoiled brat with a big bully to back
Peggy.
up, being the United States.
Hello, Peggy.
Hello, Peggy. So when people open up their Bibles and they start reading more about what Jesus had to say about the Pharisees, um, today they can understand why when they look at people like Netanyahu, um, Arthur Blank, Jeff Epstein, Ken Langone, Les Wexner, all of these Zionists, billionaires. They can see exactly what the epitome of a devil is, because when I first met Ron Brill, he came across as this real friendly, easygoing guy. He approached me after I got through eating lunch at Cumberland Mall and stepped outside the food court and had just lit a cigarette when he approached me.
Who was
And
this?
just Ron Brill,
Oh, yeah.
just real friendly. And we had a friendly conversation. Even though we realized that we were enemies, we're on the opposite side, we still had a friendly conversation. There wasn't any disrespect. And same thing when I met with Francis Cook back in 2018 at his house. There wasn't any disrespect by either of us toward the other. We actually had a friendly conversation, believe it or not. But I've always tried to treat everybody with the same respect, same kindness, and all that. And it's worked really well as far as staying alive, because nobody likes to kill a friendly person.
I just have the picture for Fred Cook. I don't have the picture for Francis.
No, There's not one for Jeff, but there is for Ted, Fred, and Mike.
This one right here is Fred, and who else you said this was?
Well,
Fred,
that's my brother Fred
Stacy
Rogers
Farmer,
with Stacy Farmer there at the bottom and Roger Nance to the right.
and I said, okay, Roger Nance. Sometimes I get confused with the not Roger Nance and this is how Roger Nance looks today, or well, it might be a little bit older looking now, you know.
Mm-hmm. Let's just hope his wife doesn't die from a drug overdose.
Yeah, that just
That'd be a
freaky how
second
that keeps
one.
happening, huh? And that's
Mhm.
Bobby Cook, Fred's cousin, Fred Cook's cousin. And here's
Yeah,
Fred Cook
actually,
right here.
Bobby and Mike are the two suspects for the Centennial Park attack.
Bobby is Bobby and Mike.
Bobby and his cousin Mike Cook. Now, Eric Rudolph, he built him and his brother Daniel, and Matt McRae built the explosives for the attack.
Here's Mike Cook right here.
Mhm.
It
But
looks
Eric
like it's in
Rudolph
front
was
of Ruby
actually,
Falls.
yeah, but Eric Rudolph was actually with his brother Daniel up in Hanging Dog, a community just north of Murphy up Highway 64,
Uh-huh.
uh, right at the North Carolina Tennessee line.
That's pretty scary of being that close, and that's right at the hub. You know, a lot of people say that about the Summer Wells thing, you know, that it's right there. And I said, well, you know, that's a general area where the traffickers go down from North Carolina and Tennessee at that edge and down through Georgia.
Yeah, for some reason they're attracted to the um, tri-state area. You know, they always had big plans for Murphy um, ever since the 70s, and what it was is that when they planned to launch their revolution, civil war that they were trying to launch in the 1990s was going to be there in Murphy, more or less Andrews and Topton up there against the uh, North Point Minuteman militia that was led by Nord Davis. And of course, Nord, he didn't want to take the fall for the bombing of the FBI field office down in Mobile, Alabama. Um,
But then they did the field office over there in Oklahoma.
well, the North Point Minutemen militia, they had nothing to do with the bombing of the Alfred P. Murray Federal Building.
Yeah,
It
this
was
was
the Mossad and the Aryan Republican Army.
even though, so your brother was a part of that.
Yeah, Fred and Roger Nance both were members of the Midwestern Bank Bandits.
Here's Fred, Fred Rogers.
Hmm. Yeah, it was something how he could come across, run into some money, large sums of money, just by going out and doing a job for a week.
And there's the Alfred Murray building, federal building right there. That's where my friend Bill Pennington's, he had a fiance that died in that explosion.
Hmm.
So all these people, I'm finding more and more cases. I was looking over the stuff in my phone, looking at all the sex abuse cases,
Hmm.
and it was shocking about, and I just could not hit. I mean, I could not get it past me. I said, some of these people, it's got to be affiliated with some of them people in Georgia. It's down there close to the Enterprise area, too.
Well, even Macon, Georgia has a reputation of its own, um, similar to Athens. It's Gridiron Central. You have Mercer University there in Macon, Georgia, and I remember when I was working with Electrolux out of Pensacola, one of our kickoff meetings was in Macon, Georgia. So we had to drive through Enterprise and out that way to get to Macon. It wasn't as far from where I was living at as I thought it would be whenever we went. But I remember when we did the DeMolay conclave at the Macon Hilton got blackballed um, because everybody went crazy down there during the dance. It was huh, it was crazy. The following year, only half of the Rainbow Girls and DeMolay even showed up. But next year, the parents, I don't think, allowed their um, children to go back to the conclave the following year because of what had happened in Macon. Um, a couple of Masons showed up with some cocaine. Someone spiked the punch. Um, some of them teenagers got to drinking that punch and they went crazy.
Wow.
They tore up the motel.
You know what's sad about it? A lot of people keep asking why John Ramsey, why um, the Bentley guy never have been arrested, even though it's out there about how widespread and the thing, different crimes that they done. What would you say to that question to the people?
Well, there's nobody. There's nobody they're not willing to kill. Any. It doesn't matter if you're a federal agent, police officer. They don't care. Judge, senator, congressman, um, president, or presidential candidate. They will kill you if you stand in their way.
But they get in trouble. The other people, let's see, what was the words that Eric was telling me earlier? It's like, do what I say, but don't do what I do.
Yeah, it's a hypocrisy.
That they'll
I,
go and arrest other people that's trafficking and make themselves look good, but when they're the bigger ones that are involved in that, they do nothing. It's like, we can do it and it's okay, and we don't have to pay the repercussions of it. Come on, people. We need people in the government high up to go and show these people that, yeah, y'all need arrested as well.
well, that's like in 2005 when the Coalition for Children were having rallies at the Marietta Square um, at the Georgia State Capitol. Shortly after we got those bills passed, House Bills 106 and 188 passed, which got the death penalty for child rape in Georgia, along with the adoption of Megan's Law. Both bills that we petitioned the General Assembly for in Georgia passed. Well, during the session, they busted this child rights activist for child pornographic material. And it's like I heard this one gentleman on YouTube here a couple of weeks ago, former CIA, laid it out that all of these organizations, from the Boy Scouts, the YMCA, all your youth groups, police departments, they've been infiltrated. These organizations didn't start out as evil organizations. It's just these people went and they joined these organizations and infiltrated them. Is what happened. Is why you have so many of them in law enforcement, the judiciary, and the legislative branches of the governments. They're always going to want to support their candidates that they want in office. They have the money and the backing, as much money as they have squandered out of the American people. And continue to do so. The Israel lobby, they get $80 billion a year quarterly out of our government, and then they just turn around used to bribe our officials, and pad the pockets of the judges. And that's why we got the mess that we have today. We don't, we are no longer a sovereign nation. We are very much ran by Israel. And you could do your history, you could do your research, and you will find that this modern day Pharisees is the best way to put it. These people, they sacrifice children. They have no problem raping or torturing them. And as we could see, they will sacrifice one child of one of their children for the sake of the rest of their family, to join this death cult that they got operating here in the United States. And the people like Butterbrain, you know him as Joe Pugh, who I know him as, Grady Moore, Bill Hudson, former sheriff of Cobb County. You couldn't trust him around a little girl. You couldn't trust him around a little boy. And I hate to say about the former sheriff of Cobb County, Neil Warren. The same thing. Both were members of the Kennesaw Masonic Lodge there in Marietta, Georgia. And when I was in the DEVILS, a junior branch of the Masons, the person they're supposed to be protecting was somebody like me, not allowing their fellow members to go out there and try to kill me. That's why I'll never step a foot in another Masonic lodge ever again. It is not what I envisioned, what I was raised to believe that it was. I got snookered in it by my aunts and cousin that it was this grand Christian organization, and it's not. Now I know a lot of people. They're fine people. They're good people, and they're master masons to third degrees.
Hey, Charles, is this the sheriff that you're talking about? This guy or who?
No, that was Sergeant Glenn Turner.
Okay.
He was a homicide victim.
Oh, you're talking about the Burger King guy, huh?
No, actually, Sheriff Owens replaced Neil Warren.
Oh, okay.
Now, apparently, Sheriff Owens, he is the first black sheriff of Cobb County. He supports white supremacy.
Can you tell them who this is?
That is Alice Summerer.
Let me go back to the very first picture, and you can explain to people who they are. Okay, sort of. Okay. Okay, who's this?
I forgot that couple's name, the Gridiron.
Okay, that's
Arthur
authors.
Blank. And that is John Patsy and Beth Ramsey. That is Ray Duncan. I forgot his former partner in winemaking. He died mysteriously. But that's Ray Duncan. Raymond Toomey Duncan, the founder of Duncan Oil.
Which one's the Raymond? Which one's Ray?
On the right.
Over here in the brown coat?
No, he's in
Okay, I
the
was
right.
looking to his right. That's what, okay. Right
Yeah.
here to the right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Ray Duncan. There is a picture of him with his 4 sons, and David and Tim. I forgot the other 2 sons' names. Now, I definitely got my respect for David Duncan. He's really like his brothers. They really weren't too fond of the things that their daddy was involved in.
She's a was killed. This was one of the victims a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is her.
That's Roger and Leslie Nance.
Yeah, the ones that did a threat on me over there at Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, living in my house.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot that guy's name. Now, that's Albert Samples. Tommy Albert Samples. He's still in the Georgia Department of Corrections for the attempted murder of his boyfriend, Marshall Talent. He used to hang out with the Rudolph brothers a lot up there in North Carolina.
Yeah, I remember you saying that story about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's Alice Summer, and if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be Jim Stubbs' daughter. She's an attorney there in Marietta. Bentley Lake Farm is is deeded in her name now. And there's Bernie Marcus.
But don't Ed Bentley still live on there too?
Yes, he does. As
Bill
former
Hudson.
Cobb County Sheriff Bill Hudson.
We know who that is.
Yeah.
There was a picture that cut off that was Bill Gates and Epstein, but this is where the Bentley Farms Road was cut off right here, Bentley Lake Road.
Yeah. Yeah, once I started releasing this information, they decided to go over there and fence that off to keep the public from getting down in there.
Suspicious much?
Ma'am?
I said suspicious much? You know, they knew that they're responsible for something and they're closing it out.
Well, I imagine they've been down there removing human remains.
Yeah, because, some of the kids, like I said, they had taken the bones out of it when they wrapped them up in plastic.
Yeah.
The bones had to be taken somewhere.
Yeah, they were buried, from what I was told, in 1972 and 73 by Jim Stubbs, that they was buried up there below part of Bentley Lake Road and Barnes Mill Road. So they've been doing quite a bit of cleanup over there for going on the past 2 years now.
Right.
Trying to cover all that up, because you can sit there and look at it, tell it says CIA all over it. I mean,
right.
When you see the fence fenced up like that,
Let me go
You know,
back and.
that's the black community church. Um, you know, for the black community, and these people are the ones, wanting to annihilate the black community from North America. I mean, this stuff is so crazy you can't make it up, and you sure as hell can't imagine it. But if they had nothing to hide, why would they block off the road? Oh, someone keeps coming over burning our barns. Well, we know better than that. I mean,
How many times has the barns burnt? Really, seriously.
there was one barn that had burned like 5 or 6 times before they took it down and reconstructed it.
But isn't it
Um,
funny how you said that the new place would be rebuilt, a brand new one overnight, so that nobody would really know?
oh yeah, the barn I rescued those two like teenage boys from was taken down that night, and another one was reconstructed the following morning.
Wow.
That fast.
Probably because you survived. They shot at you. You heard that thing go by your ear.
Well, yeah. I mean, um, I don't know if it was behind my head or in front of my head, but I heard that son of a gun whiz by like a bumblebee.
Yeah, the
Um,
two boys fell. Unfortunately, they didn't survive.
no, they did. So they took them over there and they buried them on that farm.
Yeah, and they also threatened you, threatened Beth Ramsey's friend, threatened Beth Ramsey, and threatened Matt Darrington for
Hmm.
what about rescuing those two.
Well,
And
John
then said that you're
expected
going
that.
to do something to Beth Ramsey on the anniversary of Jill
Hmm.
Robinson's death.
Yeah, John expected something like that out of me, but he didn't expect that his own offspring would try to take him down.
Right.
And you know, the devil had the devil had two angels for daughters. Is the only thing I got to say to that, Beth and John Bonet, because Beth was very much. I tell people was my guardian angel, because of some of the stuff that happened up there in North Carolina, 1998, 1999. Um, I mean, has to be divine intervention, and of course that's Bobby Cook and his mother pictured there.
Oh, that's his mom? Okay.
Hmm. And there's Big Bird, Muneer. Now, that's Danny Hughes. Now, Danny was the teenager that helped Jim Stubbs locate my family in 1975. And that's his mugshot from where he murdered and killed Terry Owenby. With my testimony, they could turn around and retry him for first degree murder. But as you see there, that's his 2015 mugshot from where he killed Terry.
Well,
Waited a second degree murder, but I still aim to have him charged with first degree murder, which is going to be least of his worries. All the evidence comes out, conspiracy to overthrow the United States government should carry the death penalty in itself. And that's a composite sketch of Merle McRae
yeah.
at the Radio Shack in Murphy, North Carolina.
I thought this was Doug McRae.
I mean, Doug McRae, my bad. Yeah.
We know who that is to me, too.
Yeah. And that's George Edward Bentley Jr. That's the DoD contractor who manufactures the Bushmaster fully automatic machine gun for the U.S. military. The silencers, that was Jeff Epstein's partner in the international arms guns trade right there out of Marietta. And he's the same one who tried to make me a porn star when I was 7 years old with his 6-year-old niece.
Yeah, and that's the one that Alice Summer, is
Mm-hmm.
on that property along with him.
Yeah, I believe Alice is his niece. And of course, the infamous Daniel Rudolph's brother.
Eric Rudolph.
Yep. And there he is again as Eric Nathan.
Yeah, here's a psychiatric nurse and practitioner in Arlington, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Now, I remember a couple of weeks ago when I had first met Frank Sheldon.
Uh-huh.
It was back in 1972 in Marietta, Georgia. He had come down from up north to observe some of my dad's work on his developments when Jim Stubbs was working. And I had forgotten that. And of course, the second time that I met Frank was in September of 1996, because he had faked his death.
You got to hold on a minute. Two people got two different questions for you here, okay? Okay. We'll first tell you, go to this one first, okay? What message did Beth want to tell you?
What message did Beth want to tell?
Yeah, when she went looking for you at the first time before you actually met her, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, wasn't it about that her daddy was after trying to hurt you or something?
Well, my dad had got a settlement with George Edward Bentley Sr. in 1979 when George sued my dad in a wrongful death suit, for killing Jim Stubbs up there in Morganton, Georgia in 1975. Of course, my dad didn't handle it the right way, but the grand jury in Fannin County failed to indict him on the desecration of courts because he buried him almost 20 feet deep in the ground. I mean, he buried him 13 feet below a dead cow carcass. And so they wanted to do a forensic recovery, the state of Georgia, to go up there and recover his body, which back in the 70s was over $90,000.
Wow.
And my dad goes, well, I'll just go up there and dig him up for you. No, it's got to be forensic. So, they go to court. George loses. My dad turned around. He sued. He got compensated for one of the cattle ranches he purchased in Fannin County. I was awarded $450,000, 6 acres and a house, to be given to me by July the 1st, 1996. They had turned around and had offered my brother Fred the $450,000 to whack me, to kill me. And Beth found out
his own brother was going to do that for them.
And that's right. And so when she came looking for me, she went to the Waffle House where I used to work at. I went in direct sales. Been in about direct sales for about 8 months at the time that I wound up meeting her finally. But she came to Marietta looking for me for like 3 months, trying to locate me. And I was living out in Athens. working out there. And I just so happened to come in and missed her by 30 minutes one day at the Waffle House, Unit 479. And the cook and waitress sat there and told me how this lady was, coming in there, all the time trying to locate me. They had her pager number. But she knew everything. She knew their plot to bomb the Alfred P. Murray Federal Building after the following presidential election. She knew what their plot was to abolish the United States government and throw this whole country in a turmoil, chaos to institute their New World Order agenda. She knew everything. After John Bonet was born and she held her for the first time, it was like John couldn't get rid of Beth. Beth was all the time coming around after John Bonet was born. So John trusted her. He didn't think that his daughter would do anything, to get him brought to justice and all of that. And he wasn't aware of her eavesdropping. But she overheard that one telephone conversation sitting outside of his study watching television one evening. He left the door kind of cracked to where she could hear his phone conversation. And once she overheard that conversation, she got very inquisitive about what all he was involved in. And her number one concern was protecting John Bonet and Burke from their daddy. That was her number one concern, foremost, John Bonet. So she knew everything what they had planned for this country. It was during a terrorist attacks that they had in mind what they were going to do. She knew who my brother was. She knew who Roger Nance was. I think she had personally met them before. She knows my cousin Robert Beach, who goes by Bobby. To his friends, but Robert to the family. So she knew everything that her dad was involved in, who all he was involved with, and she would much rather die than to be governed by a bunch of sick pedophiles, was her exact words. And then, of course, that was my cousin, Robert Beach.
See that question on the screen? I got it showing on the screen. Talk about the encounter with Beth and how long afterwards was she killed in the car accident?
Well, that was in October. That was around October 22nd or 23rd of 91. And it was right there at the end of January of 1992 that they got chased into that delivery truck or bakery truck.
But it was after y'all rescued those two boys.
Yeah, that was not an accident that killed Beth Ramsey and Matt Darrington. I've emphasized this before in other interviews. Matt Darrington had no problem driving in the rain, the exception with his fiance with him. He would not drive in the rain with her. if it was going to rain for 30 minutes, they'd pull over in a convenience store or a restaurant, and they would wait until the roads were dry before they pulled back out. If it was going to rain for like 4 or 5 hours, they would just pull in to a motel and get a motel room and hang out until the rain was over with and the roads were dry. Then they'd go back out, and Matt would drive her wherever they were going. Matt Darrington would not drive in the rain for any significant period of time with his fiancee with him. He just refused to do it. My last conversation with him was if I ever read in the newspaper where their car had collided with a bakery truck, then I would know that they had been murdered.
Can you go over again what the threats when y'all let the two boys out, y'all rescued them, and John Ramsey's threat to them?
Well, yeah, he promised Beth that he would he would sell John Bonet, okay, and have her murdered on the 20th anniversary of the homicide of Jill Robinson. This was the second time I heard him admit to murdering Jill Robinson. And he said that would to get her back, and that way he could have control over her soul for eternity.
And I think it's a shame the threat about going to do that to John Bonet.
Well, you just look at what this guy has done to countless children. He's not always acted alone, but a lot of times he has acted alone. He didn't act alone up there in the Alphabet murders. He didn't act alone in the Oakland County child murders, and he sure didn't act alone in the Atlanta child murders. But Jill Robinson, you look at, if you ever want to find the fingerprint of John Ramsey's homicide, the victims were always bathed, well fed, appeared to be well taken care of before they were murdered. That was to where they could, get rid of the forensic evidence, where they, let them bathe and clean up and put on clean clothes before they killed them. And they would, I guess, give them their favorite last meal. Is only assumption I can make, like they would do a prisoner on death row before taking them and putting them to death, give them their favorite last meal. But the bodies have always been washed. Most of the victims missed after 1982 would be missing their shoes. Shoes would be removed. Bodies found near a body of water, usually a creek or river. Again, to where they could wash away forensic evidence.
Yeah, it's sick and sadistic how some of them would laugh about what he had done to them, too.
Well, yeah, when he over there at Leighton Graphics, when he when he talked about how he shot Joe Robinson in the face. That was the first time I heard it out of him. My brother and Roger Nance and the two technicians want to sit there and laugh like that was so funny, shooting a 12-year-old girl in the face with a shotgun. Like I was supposed to sit there and laugh with them. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my ears that my brother would find something that, amusing. But that was before he talked about getting his butt whooped by that 11-year-old blonde up there in Huntington, West Virginia. So this guy's nomadic, like his partner, Franklin Delano Floyd. He was very nomadic. Be, one state in 1 year and a different state another year. Just moving all around the country. Israel Keys, same way. There's no telling how many people he murdered across the country. There's still no telling how many death kits that are still buried out there at some unknown location where he had them buried. When he got to town, he could go out and dig up his weapons and go kill somebody. Being a member of the Midwestern Bank Bandits and robbing banks, there's no telling how many of those murder kits are still out there buried around the country that Israel Keys buried. The guns, knives, and masks, and what have you. See, serial killers, ones that act alone, they're very few far in between. They always have to have that extra set of eyes or two. Always 2 or 3 help keep an eye out to make certain that when they snatch their victim that there's nobody else around that can help. Whenever they do an abduction, it's normally a group of them.
Yeah, like that one with he called Bill Ramsey, right?
Yeah, Frank Floyd. Now you could pull up the picture. Yeah, there's another picture of him. You can pull up the information on 28-year-old Mary Carter of Cincinnati, Ohio, and you can tell that the composite sketch of the suspect the police had was, in fact, Frank Floyd.
Had you heard what she's saying right there? She thinks the Green River Killer wasn't alone.
Oh, no doubt. I don't think what was his name? BTF. What was his? That minister I don't think all of his homicides were alone. We know that John Wayne Gacy's, um, at least one of his victims was murdered when he was out of town.
It almost looks like somebody conked him upside the head right here. See?
It probably did.
And look at his different aliases: Trenton Davis, Charles Hughes, Clarence Hughes, Preston Morgan, Warren Marshall, Kingfish Floyd, scar left hand, may wear glasses.
Well, they need to put Bill Ramsey in there.
Yeah, they need to put his name on there as one of the aliases. That's right.
Yep.
Like that's where we put Franklin Delano Floyd, aka Bill Ramsey. That's
Mm.
horrible. You want to describe to them about Mary Carter? That is a horrible story.
Well, it is because I've heard it. I heard it when I met Floyd later that evening. That I met John Ramsey. You know, we walked over there to Tip Top Poetry, and they were sitting there bragging about the alphabet murders. And we know that Floyd was not involved in the first two of those murders. So which one he was abducting that John Ramsey came and helped him in, that's beyond me. I can't answer that. I thought it was Carmen Colon, but Floyd was actually in Georgia at the time of her homicide. Now, I believe my cousin Robert Beach was very well involved with John Ramsey in the alphabet murders. But I really believe that they did. Floyd and Ramsey did team up in at least one of those homicides. And of course, I wish I knew his real name, Dale Montegraph, Floyd, Doug McRae, Sam Duncan Sr., and Ron Brill were all involved. Well, Frank Sheldon, Christopher Bush.
There's that Beach, Robert Beach, right here.
Beach, yep. Yeah, a lot of people have trying to figure out the proper pronunciation of it, but it's Beach.
And y'all, looky here too. Look who's standing beside Rosalind Carter. Does anybody know who that is? Charles, just wait. Let them see if they know, if they can read at the top of the screen who this murderer is with standing beside Rosalind Carter. John Wayne Gacy. I don't have that picture, but maybe I don't know if you could be able to share any of your screen or something like that. But there is a picture, a story that Charles has said about this guy right here, Judge McLaughlin, when he was younger. And it shows the wanted picture or something. And guess who it is? It is a younger version of him. So it is him that was murdered. How old was you at this time when he did that at the car when you got off the school bus?
I was 14.
Okay, here's a murder of Mary Carter right here. It said, after hearing certain individuals admit to murdering 28-year-old Mary Carter in 1981, it was very easy to solve her case once I discovered a composite sketch of the suspect who picked her up and her daughters up at the convenience store. Doesn't leave much room to identify anyone else than Franklin Delano Floyd. So the list of suspects in this case from admissions are as follows. From admissions, they admitted to it, okay? They admitted, okay? John Bennett Ramsey, Cobb Assistant Magistrate Mike McLaughlin, and Doug McRae. all also confirmed the presence of Frances Duffield Sheldon during her homicide, which occurred at Frank Floyd's residence in Cincinnati, Ohio. So there's Francis Sheldon and then Frank Floyd both involved there, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Doug McRae, I got that from him. I got that out of John and Floyd the night that I met them.
And Doug McRae, this is his composite sketch right here. Here's Frank Sheldon when he was younger, right here.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposedly a smart man, and he chose to do this with his. He was also responsible for North Fox Island, right?
Yes, ma'am. And looking at him, he looks like the type of guy you'd picture out fly fishing. You know,
Right.
just for first impression, you wouldn't think that he would have the
Well, I
audacity
guess
to,
that's right.
you know.
So Simply had a question. She said, "So there's a pattern with these evil killings of innocent peoples."
Oh yes, and it's like when you have a string of serial killings, they'll take down one guy, but it's like they giving away Rex Harriman, because Rex was part of this group. I met Rex Harriman back on June 19th, 1982. The night that I had to go down there and demand the safe return of my brother, down there at the Chattahoochee River that night when they were down there torturing two more like teenage boys. And how I found out they were teenage boys was during my conversation with Ron Brill over there at the Cumberland Mall that afternoon that we had our conversation. And I remembered his face from down there, but he had lost so much weight and had a mustache and wore glasses, I didn't recognize him. But I had seen him, Bernie Marcus, and Chad Turner. There by one of the victims. And it's because they turned on their flashlight. There's a reason
And you
why I
could,
couldn't see their faces.
and I won't never forget what you had said, what Ron Brill had told you as well
Well,
about how he thought that you thought it was going to be spectacular about something, and he goes, "I didn't think that was as good as the time when you were over there at this percent time that you're speaking of right now."
well, it was exactly 15 years from the date that I went down there to the Chattahoochee River and demanded safe return of my brother. That Murphy Building Supply and Radio Shack, Eric Rudolph showed up to blow up the Home Depot corporate headquarters. I went to the store location there at Cumberland Boulevard and West Paces Ferry Road and got a cashier to call that attack in. And all of the brass, Home Depot brass, including Craig Manier, like I said, Craig didn't start his employment with the company until later that year in September, but he was in that store that morning.
I'm going to show them the picture again and see if y'all can have a laugh about it because he does resemble Big Bird, okay? I'm sorry.
But so when And he sat there and told me he knew my cousin Robert Beach, and I said, "Well, what? Did you used to work with him in the police department?" He goes, "No, I never worked with him in the police department." Now I did meet him when he did work for the department, but um, you know, we've been friends since he went to work for IBM. That's where Robert gave up his job as a police officer to go work for IBM, work his way up the corporate ladder from security with IBM. But that's right. I said, "What kind of work you do?" And he goes, "Well, I'm an executive of marketing for the Home Depot corporation." And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah. I also know your brother Fred and Roger Nance too." And I was like, "Really? How you know them?" "Well, I just know them from around." I was like, "I see. Well, you're working for the Home Depot. Did you know I'm the one that stopped that truck bomb attack on your corporate headquarters over a week ago?"
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the picture
And he
still.
goes, "Yeah, I did." I said, how'd you like that?" He goes, "Oh, that was pretty impressive, but not as impressive as I was that night you went walking down there to the Chattahoochee River demanding the safe return of your brother and Roger Nance." I was like, "Oh, you were down there?" He goes, "Yeah, I was down there." And he goes, how old were you or what? Um, 15, 16 years old? I said, "I was 16 years old. 16 years old." He goes, "The way you came down there, nobody knew you were there. And all of a sudden, with the authority in your voice, the way you stood your ground, and the way you bluffed us, and you talked your way out of there," he goes, "that's what I found impressive about you. Not stopping the truck bombing of our corporate headquarters."
Wow. And the thing about that is they were going to kill you.
Well, yeah, um, I got well used to almost getting killed living down in Lower Alabama. Um,
Yeah, we call that LA.
yeah, LA. They totaled out 4 automobiles down there trying to chase me and kill me.
And then they wondered why you went ahead and drove on instead of helping them get unstuck. I thought that was stupid as heck. It's like, well, aren't you going to help us get unstuck? Yeah, really? Y'all expect me to help y'all
No,
get
I
unstuck?
got an appointment. I got to go deliver a vacuum cleaner. No, there's nothing to that. They're the ones that called in the bum lead, and there was no delivery and no vacuum. And,
That's
but
how unrealistic that these people are. They think that they could go ahead and try to kill you. Okay, then, we got stopped. We got stuck over here. Come and help us. Yeah, you think I'm going to get close enough? I'm going to get the heck out of Dodge. What y'all talking about, guys?
well, it's whatever Judge McLaughlin hit Grady Rawls's brick mailbox down there.
Well, it's hard to say. I wish it would have hit it, so that because you remember his description on what would have happened to him had his head hit
Hit that
that
brick
brick
mailbox
mailbox.
and
Yeah.
busted like a cantaloupe.
Well, we wouldn't have to worry about him killing anybody else or nothing like
No.
that. That'd be one minus one, right?
Mm-mm. And what's funny was that was his favorite automobile. He always drove it to work more than his Mercedes. And it was that old 70 Buick Centurion that belonged to his uncle, I think died in Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
Is how he wound up with it, was his uncle's car. And he prized that automobile. 455 4-barrel dual exhaust, I could imagine. That was his death car. There's no telling how many people he had murdered in automobile chases with that vehicle.
I want you guys to do me a favor. Write down Jill Robinson's The Oakland Child Murders. Go over there and look up the death date and see if it coincides with the threat that John Ramsey said that he's going to have John Bonet killed on the anniversary of Jill Robinson's death. See if that coincides. It fits along with. He said it's going to dress her up, dye her hair blonde, put her in these pageants, and pass her around like a two-bit. Um,
Yeah, he's going to pass her around like a madam in a brothel.
and gonna have her murdered on the anniversary of Jill Robinson's. Does that seem like it coincides with everything that was going on with John Bonet? To me, it does.
Well, see, they want
And
people focused on Boulder, Colorado.
and
Um,
also and also, Charles had talked about that house, right?
yeah, the house in Boulder.
The one that was empty, the empty house where they took her to that the people went over there and done drugs.
Yeah, the corner house down the street from the Ramsey home.
And they said that they were basically made the people leave, the homeless
Yeah, there
people that
was
was there.
homeless people living there, and they forced them out of the house where they could use it as a drug house. And also, that's where John Bonet was murdered at around 7. What I was told, between 7:45 7:48 p.m. So she
Do you,
was already dead whenever John arrived home with her. He said he arrived home from the other party.
uh,
Well, he arrived home from the corner house down the street where he had her murdered at. So she was already dead when he arrived home with her. There was nobody in that house outside of my brother, Fred Rogers, Roger Nance, Eric Rudolph, Joey Davis, um, Jeff Cook, and Fred Cook. These were the guests that was in the Ramsey home. Um, because you're talking a house size of a motel, and they used to brag about the Ramsey Motel. Well, that was the Ramsey home in Boulder. But see, they owned a home in Marietta. They owned another home in Buckhead, the community there in Atlanta. They owned another house on Lake Chattooga in Hiawassee, Georgia. They owned another home, I think it was in Indiana. They owned another home and another home in Michigan.
and
So
I
they
want to read.
always talk about them being the normal family living out in Boulder, Colorado, when in fact during the summer of 1996 they were living in Hiawassee, Georgia,
I
in their
got.
lake house. Instead of living in their house, they were staying in Big Ray Duncan's house with Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, so I want to ask you something. Do you know where that Baseline Road is? A house at 917 Baseline. Is that where that abandoned house was?
I don't know.
Because remember that there is a forum at Facebook, okay, a group that's called the John Bonet Ramsey Murder Discussion.
Uh huh.
And that's where you had shared this information with different people. 3 homeless men were found dead in Boulder in 1997. There
Mm-hmm.
was a story that came out in which there had been a sighting by 3 homeless men of a tall man carrying a child to a house at 917 Baseline the night John Bonet was murdered. The following year, all 3 men were dead. Daniel Julian died July the 97, was found drowned in Boulder Creek. Thomas Lemon died August 97, was found drowned in Boulder Creek. David Emmett Simpson, aka Mad Dog, died September the 3rd, 1997, was found bashed to death on one of the woody trails near the Boulder Creek. While the third man's death was undoubtedly a murder, the same cannot be said about the drownings. Could they actually have been murder? And could the third man have been um, tracked? Is what that one says. So we go to the next part of the story here. Found, let's see, go to this. And could the third man have been tracked down and bashed to death because he had witnessed one or both of the murders by drowning? According to local journalist and forum poster Mary Suma, Mame, there, or it says Marn or Mame, I can't really tell by that small print. There was always some question as to whether or not complete autopsies were done to determine exact cause of death. A woman by the name of Stacy Denton, I think, was the person to whom the story about the three homeless men were attributed. She was known to have sung with those three men at the Pearl Street Mall in times past. Stacy apparently fled Boulder soon after the deaths of the men, apparently in fear for her own life. According to Mame, she and many others looked into the possibility of whether these deaths could have been connected in some way to the murder of John Bonet and never came up with anything. Also would have wondered whether there was any connection, and I do think have come up with a connection. What more perfect way of obtaining a sample for DNA testing to substitute for someone who didn't want his own DNA sample submitted for testing for fear that it would match the DNA found in John Bonet's panties?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all just say wow on that, right?
Right.
But yeah, there was high names that was there as well, and the one person HB, you had said that, yeah, he was all for the rape of a little girl, but he didn't want them to kill her.
Yeah, I think Gary Oliver was there, but he didn't want. He didn't go there to do any killing. He went there to have him some fun with a little 6-year-old.
I thought you said HB, though, said that too.
Uh huh.
You know who I'm talking about, HB?
Now
Hunter?
you can text. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hunter was there.
Yeah. He was all for messing with a little kid, but he wasn't for her being murdered.
No,
And
he just.
supposedly the
There
one
was a
with
lot of
Garrett,
people. There
uh-huh,
was a lot of people that went to the Ramsey's party after her murder. They were highly upset when they found out she had been murdered, and her parents were having a party.
and they just passed around the garage, didn't they?
Yeah, that was at the Christmas party of on the 23rd, if I remember correctly. They passed around the rope to the people in the party as a token of the Ramsey's Christmas tradition, to pass around this rope to all the guests, and that's what the rope was used to tie around the garrote. My brother Fred, he learned all of his rope tying techniques from John Ramsey because John, he taught rope tying at the Navy Academy and when he's stationed in the Philippines. So when you figure out who made the garrote, well, it's either going to be John Ramsey or it's going to be Fred Rogers, one of the two.
So like we're looking at these people and you're thinking they don't seem too friendly to us, but when you met them in person, that kind of stuff, if you wouldn't have known what kind of life they had, would they had not been seen like the friendliest people around?
Well, yeah, I mean, some of these people are some of the friendliest people you'll meet. Now, Ron Brill is one of the most friendliest people I've ever met in my life. Like I said, when we sat there and had a conversation, it was a friendly conversation. It wasn't like two enemies down each other's throats. He didn't get nasty with me, or stopping the truck bombing of their corporate headquarters. Because they had a deal lined up that Zell Miller, he was governor of Georgia. That was Eric Rudolph's boss.
Yeah, didn't they hide him out over there when he was on the run?
Well, no, he actually got to go back over there and finish his job at the resort at the Brasstown Valley Golf Club after the FBI, after he became wanted by the FBI. He couldn't go over there and work in the daytime, so he'd go over there and work overnight and finish texture and the sheetrock there at that resort.
Wow. And it's pretty sick also. The one thing, some people that might never had heard this before, and this is pretty sickening. It's a warning, okay? The question that Eric Rudolph had to ask Charles, and boy, Eric Rudolph's mother wanted to kill him after that. Boy.
Oh, yes. That's one thing I could say. I don't know that much about his brother that lives over in Nashville. Don't know that much about him. Jamie, he's been living with the same boyfriend for the past 26 years or so up there in Manhattan. So when Rudolph wasn't up there hanging out with Epstein, he was going to gay clubs with his brother and his brother's boyfriend. Okay, this Eric Rudolph that the media depicted as this radical right-wing pro-life extremist of the Christian identity. I hate to bust everybody's bubble, but that is 100% false. I never approved the media to classify him anything to do with the Christian identity movement at all. I did not approve that. They took it upon themselves to attack the Christian identity movement. Well, that's what America, the United States, was based upon, was the Christian identity movement. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all is based around God-given rights. The United States was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. They used to have Bible studies at the White House. Thomas Jefferson and other presidents would have their Bible studies. The United States was, in fact, established as a Protestant Christian nation. And then to go in and attack the Christian identity, that should be the sign that everybody needs to be looking at of who runs and controls the mainstream media, and it's the Jewish controlled media. Charlie Kirk pointed that out to Ben Shapiro. And it's also resulted in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Because when I release information, people listen it first, and I understand. I would be the same way. I'd be a little skeptical myself. I would be like, this doesn't seem right. But when they go in and they do the research, they come back and they're like, well, he's telling the truth. It's like Gary Webb, the investigative journalist. When he went down and he did his investigation into the Contra, he exposed the CIA and its he said involvement, and that's what got him discredited, because they could not prove that any agents of the CIA was involved in the cocaine trafficking. But the CIA was allowing the Sandinistas to traffic drugs into Los Angeles in order to fund their war against that communist regime in Guatemala. And that's what got Gary Webb killed. Was he went in and he exposed we say the complicity of the CIA. They weren't involved in the drug trafficking, but they went and they set up that militia to overthrow that government. So no, there probably wasn't any CIA agents trafficking cocaine, but they knew exactly what was going on.
Right. Well, I remember also that you were asked before, who did you want them to arrest as far as the trafficking? And what was your first two answers before you said Epstein?
My first choice was Ed Bentley.
And what was told to you?
They couldn't arrest him.
Untouchable, right?
Yeah, he was untouchable.
And what about John Rancy?
Yeah, he was untouchable. They couldn't arrest them too. And so when I asked about that couple up there at the Brasstown Valley Golf Club, both Jewish, the agent goes, "You mean Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeff Epstein?" I said, "Yeah, Jeff Epstein. What about him?" "Well, we've already got some cases pending against him in Florida with some underage teenage girls. But they're talking about possibly charging him with us." "Well, there you go. Go ahead, charge him." "Well, all they're going to do is slap him on the wrist is all they're going to do." I said, "Yeah." I said, "And when they do, word is going to slowly get out. And the whole country's going to find out. And they're not going to be happy once this thing blows up, because it'll expose everything."
Yes, and so we want people to realize, y'all want to keep saying release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. Y'all don't really realize what you're asking for, because it's much bigger than child sex trafficking, okay? It's a lot to do with terrorism and things like that as well.
Well, he is an international arms dealer.
Right. So it
You
goes
know,
way beyond the trafficking. So they can't do that. I hope that they go ahead and make a lot of these arrests and then they expose it, because y'all can imagine people that's that powerful, if they hear they're on that list, what they got to do? Start gunning us all down, just kill us, and that's probably what they'll do.
well, their ambition was to wipe out at least 1/3 of the American population in the 1990s and turn of the millennium, and impose martial law, and pretty much did the same thing to the United States as we've seen happening over in Gaza. Because what's happening in Palestine is the same thing that happened here in this country during the Indian genocide. It was ethnic cleansing when they took the Native American Indians. It was the same thing happening in Palestine that happened here in this land after Ulysses S. Grant became president.
Right.
I tell people, when you look at the amount of American Indian that was killed because of Ulysses S. Grant, you're talking over 100 million people. That is more than Stalin, Hitler, Mao, all of them put together. The same thing that is happening there is what happened here with the Native Americans. What are they going to do? Go out there and put them on Palestinian reservations? I mean, they call them indigenous. And that's what they did with the indigenous people here in the United States. They took their land and put them on reservations. And that appears to be the same thing that is happening in Palestine right now. Is you've got these group of Europeans. They're not Jewish by lineage. There's not a smidgen of Jewish DNA in them. If they is, it come from their grandfather or paternal grandfather. Not their mother or grandmother, and when it's all supposed to be maternal. Like in my case, my grandmother was Smith. So that's how I was supposed to wind up with my Jewish lineage, was through my maternal grandmother. Which color? Black.
And I also want to let people know that another way that Eric Rudolph was involved was because he was John Bonet's water skin instructor.
Yes, like I said,
And he would deliver the girls from over there at the school to Epstein.
well, they Zell Miller started the Hope Scholarship, if I remember correctly, in 1994. So the only bar in the area or in the region, when I say the region, I'm talking the tri-state area, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. With the closest place that you could get alcohol, liquor, in a bar was Ellijay, Georgia, or Helen, Georgia. Okay. Most of your places up there back then had what we call brown baggers licenses. They'd have a live band, and you could bring your own drink, your beer or your liquor or whatever, and paid a $5 cover charge and went in, and you could buy the sodas to mix your drinks with and the ice and all that you needed, but they didn't serve any beverages outside of sodas. But bringing your own liquor and beer was permitted. So a lot of people, instead of going to Helen, they would go over there to the bar at the Brasstown Valley Golf Club there at the resort, because it served liquor, it served beer. And that's where a lot of the girls from college, Young Harris College, would go. And they would give these scholarships away like candy to these girls in exchange for sexual favors. And
a lot of people try to say that this is not a true picture right here. And what do you got to say about that, Charles?
that is 100% genuine picture. That was released by the Ramseys in 2001. They had no clue that Ghislaine Maxwell was ever going to get arrested for anything, much less even become publicly known. But that is very much Ghislaine Maxwell with John Benet Ramsey during Oktoberfest in Helen, Georgia, while she was on a date with Eric Rudolph.
Y'all hear that? She actually dated Eric Rudolph too. So a lot of times Snopes and all that said it's not a true picture, da da da. That's just the way they want to try to cover it up to make it seem like it's not real. But it is real. That was at Oktoberfest, right?
Yeah, that's like John Ramsey wanting to get justice for his daughter's murder. Oh, they think they got a suspect. Oh, they think they might be able to solve the case. He does not want that case solved because everybody knows the moment he is arrested, he's going to sing like Tweety.
Yeah, and plus, why would they even be allowed to be cleaning up the crime scene? So, but the house, the kitchen, right?
Well, number one, the house
Yeah,
wasn't
it
the
is.
crime scene. The
Yeah,
crime
but that's
scene
what
was
they
in the
thought,
street.
that it would be. But
Yeah.
some of the people that was at the other place was actually in the house too, so I'm sure that they were getting rid of a lot of the fingerprints that people had been there also and was at the other place as well. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he tried to claim that this intruder came in through the basement window. Well, and I'm trying to remember the seasoned detective, trying to remember his name, come in and come up with a intruder theory. Okay, well, we know if there was a intruder theory, the intruder came in to a party.
Plus, the thing about it is, remember the very first few interviews, they said they left the door unlocked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could come in because that time of year was open house. And everybody's forgetting that point. That they said they even go over there to the neighbor's house and let the door unlocked because it was like a party with 3 houses, right? And
Uh-huh.
like it said, we let the door open because it's open house. So they're forgetting that Patsy had said that from the very beginning, but I'm not forgetting it.
Yeah, and you know, and people think that it's just a simple little 3-bedroom house. No, that son of a gun's over 8,000 square feet heated space. It's an older home, but you pull up that address, you look at that house. That is a mansion.
And every one of them had their own Christmas tree too. Every one of the kids.
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard there was a Christmas tree in every room, including Beth's room, that John had preserved. Um, Now John and Patsy lived had different bedrooms, used different bathrooms, but John had a picture of Beth in his bathroom.
And please tell everybody about please leave Bert Ramsey alone.
Yeah, everybody needs to be praying for Bert. I mean, poor guy. He's been, I think I've had it bad. I don't know how bad he's had it. He's had it pretty bad, you ask me, because I know how it feels to be blamed for stuff that you don't do. I've been dealing with these people since I was a child. But I could sit here and write a book just on the rumors, false rumors that they spread about me since I was a teenager. Anything from being an informant to a gangbanger, murderer, serial killer. These people have done a number on me. And to turn around and take that poor boy after he's lost his sister, knowing dang good and well that his daddy had something to do with it, and knowing that his oldest sister, Beth, had been murdered. I could imagine what kind of hell that boy had to endure growing up and what he's had to endure as an adult now. You know, I mean, you can't help but feel sorry for the guy because he does not deserve it. The one who does deserve it is John Andrew, because John Andrew is the brother who has the blood of both of his sisters on his hands. Not Burke, but John Andrew.
Yes.
Your tree
I'm going to
fruit.
have to call a friend of mine in a few minutes because she looked like she's upset. I think we touched on a lot of bases. Does anybody got any other questions before we go? And Peggy put, this is all very interesting. Thanks for sharing the information. I know we've been here over 2 hours, and I think it's about
Mhm.
time we go ahead and disperse. And uh, we got a lot of information out there. But I was not feeling too well about um, knowing that I was at the trafficker's place around 2000 and 1, 2, 3, something like that, and not remembering the sex trafficking that happened to me, and to be right there, right in their arms yet again, trying to get me into that hidden bedroom that the guy had in the closet. And the paneling inside of there, inside the closet, when he moved it to the side, it looked like church paneling. It was that beautiful oak look, I guess, that's shiny. And when he moved those boards, it's a beautiful canopy girl's bedroom suite there. And there's also something I failed to say, what I told you about, Charles, was when I first walked in, there was a big heat across one of the walls at a certain section. He told me not to go near it. He told me don't go touch it. Matter of fact, I was not even to sit on that couch, right?
Mhm.
So there was a lot of different restrictions, and I didn't get inquisitive and ask. And now that I know more, it makes me wonder, like, why didn't I go check? But I guess that could have put me more in danger, right?
Well, the first term I ever heard "curiosity killed the cat" come out of Jim Stubbs over there on Bentley Lake Farm, and it's when I was asking about what was in that concrete building, we call a barn,
Right, exactly.
and I wanted to go and look in it. And he goes, "You go there and take a look in. I'll have to take you in there. You'll never leave alive again."
And y'all know, I know
Really?
this puts me in danger saying all this, so y'all pray for me. But I feel like I have to talk about it. I have to tell y'all. But I was in that building.
Well, I had a psychiatrist tell me um, they tried to have me diagnosed as delusional schizophrenic, and the psychiatrist like, "Well, no, you never were delusional. You sure as hell aren't schizophrenic." So I asked her, I said, "Is there anything that you could diagnose me as far as having mental health issues?" And she goes, "Well, you're suffering from a mild form of post traumatic stress disorder. The stuff that you got bottled up in you, the information that you have, you need to talk about it. You need to let it off your chest. You got to let it out. It's running your health. Um, well, let me back up." She goes, "You're suffering from a mild form of post traumatic stress disorder that doesn't warrant any type of medication," is what she said. Um, just getting out and letting it off of your shoulders and talking to other people about it will help you a lot. Help you conquer the post traumatic stress disorder. Well, yeah, first attempt on my life was at 9 years of age. Another when I was 14. Another when I was before my 18th birthday, brutally attacked on my 18th birthday. Um, the Horton brothers. Um, they murdered Jennifer Olson because Jennifer had in mind hooking up with me and becoming my wife and mother of my children. So I can agree with that psychiatrist.
Right.
I've had people come up to me and tell me I'm crazy, and I'm like, well, shoot, I earned my right to be crazy.
I want to tell y'all a couple of things right quick, what's still on my mind. I want to be able to have a Zoom meeting if anybody's game where I could expose a little bit more and that I don't feel really safe talking about too much here in detail. You know what I'm saying? But I would love if anybody wants to hit me up on Facebook, and I think we can meet up and I can give y'all more information about these. Okay. And another thing, I want to thank Charles Rogers because he actually, what is that guy's name that you helped? You worked with him in rescuing kids as well?
Which one?
The one that's widespread that was in the Sound of Freedom?
Oh, Tim Ballard.
Yeah, Tim Ballard. Yeah.
Tim Ballard worked in Operation Longline. He started with the Department of Homeland Security in 2005, 2006. So he came in during Operation Longline, which was from 2005 to 2007. He also worked in Operation Child Safe Neighborhood. Both of those were my operations with cooperation of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office.
Thank you so much.
I named both of those operations. He's in fear for his safety.
Yeah, in Israel right now, right?
Yeah, of all places, oh boy, went out there to Israel. I mean, if he can make it back in one piece, he'll be a walking miracle.
Oh, yeah. So y'all be sure to pray for Tim Ballard because he's over there right in the front where a lot of that manifested from, right?
Yep, and he's
And they still got
exposing.
control, you know.
Well, he's even exposing some of the Mormon churches' involvement in it as well.
Yeah, they
Um,
ostracized him out of it when he said that he's going to go and bring awareness to it. And he thought they would be beside him, but instead it's like, no, we're ousting you out. Don't be talking to us ever again. And he was shocked. So that gave him the knowledge that they were involved as well.
well, like I said, these people have infiltrated just about every institution in the United States. They've been, you know, some of them are college professors with their Marxist ideology. Um, when you talk neocon and a far left, the only thing you're talking about is just two different political parties they're members of. Some of the, Francis Cook goes to church on Sunday mornings. Okay, but look at the amount of children he and his sons are responsible for.
Right.
Their
And
murders.
see, what we're talking about too is saying that y'all stop saying it's just a Democrat problem. It's a every everything problem. Okay, there's Democrats, Republicans, and everyone like that. That the pedophiles. It don't know no political affiliation. Sickos are sickos, and as we got to say about that, it's against good against evil.
Well, it's like this group, Red Rider, came out with a song in the 1980s called Lunatic Fringe. And you sit there and you listen to the words that they're talking about the Lunatic Fringe. Well, you got the gold fringe around the U.S. flag. It's a symbol of British maritime law. That's what the corporations all operate under, laws of the ocean, not the laws of the land.
Right.
Under Fisher Code of Georgia, 1-1-1, the very first site talks about persons. Um, there are two classes of persons in Georgia law: fictitious and actual. You know, and fictitious are your corporations. And so, who Red Ryder is singing about and the lunatic fringe is corporate America. And that's what we're under. We're under this huge corporate umbrella of corporate policy over law because we're under British maritime law, is what we're under. It
Right.
happened with Franklin D. Roosevelt when um, he called for emergency session um, and declared a state of emergency and brought us under more under the banking cartels than what we already were from the 1913 Federal Reserve Act. So our country got hijacked by a small group of elite bankers who met at Jekyll Island after they sunk the Titanic and had their meeting down there, and they planned all this out to for their new world order.
Yeah, and some of them were supposed to be on the Titanic, and you wonder why they didn't go on a Titanic. Now you know.
Well, and J.P. Morgan was supposed to sail over, but he supposedly came down with a flu, and he had to take the next ship out. So he made it. These other bankers that wouldn't have gone for a central bank, they died.
Right.
And on the Titanic, and that's another rabbit hole anybody can go down and check out is the sinking of the Titanic, the switching of the names of the ships, how that wasn't actually the Titanic, but the other ship that got heavily damaged, and they
Right.
switched everything over to make it appear like it was the Titanic, and they intentionally sunk that ship for the insurance money. Sound
Right.
familiar?
Yeah, it does.
So, um, there's a lot at stake. Um, my suggestions for those, people of faith, just go in and get down in your closet and prayer to our Father, like Jesus instructs us to do, and ask Him for guidance and the answers of what they need to do to prepare themselves about what what is about to happen. Because you got a large population in this country.
Hi, Miss
When they
Trail.
find out about this, they're not going to want. They don't know what to do. They're not going to know what to do, and that's because they have through the entertainment industry, they have tried to program us, and they've done a pretty good job on a lot of us. And MK Ultra still exists today as it did whenever it was first started. And so their tactics is anybody that has any knowledge is to attack their character, run these smear campaigns on them. If they can't have them killed, put them in an asylum, mental hospital, and have them misdiagnosed as having a mental disorder or mental illness.
And now
Normally,
we know. Now we understand more why the police would not do that much to help me and um, some of the churches that were around that knew about what's going on. They didn't want to help me. They said it's best let my husband kill me and all this other kind of stuff, right? So that goes to show how much and how wide this problem goes, okay? It wasn't just about me, it was about basically exposing their dirty little secrets.
Well, just about every Baptist church that I'm aware of, um, you you got these people. They're Masons. And some will be deacons, some will be preachers, and you're only talking 3 degrees was the original um, degrees of American Freemasonry until Albert Pike came along.
I, I thought
But
it,
the the whole the whole setup about King Solomon stinks. It always has. He was actually the first Antichrist mentioned in the Bible. The things that he did, and that's what your Freemasonry is all founded on, is King Solomon's temple. But when you go in and you really do an in-depth research on King Solomon, he wasn't a good guy at all. He
he
didn't
ended
tell
up
you.
getting ousted out too, didn't he?
Well, his corruption busted the kingdom in half. It divided Israel to the north and the southern kingdom. He remained the king of Judea, but his brother, the rightful heir to king, became king of Israel.
Yeah. Well,
And
when we go
uh,
to when we go to discuss next, what would you suggest when I go to discuss with you, right? Where would you like to start off maybe the next time? You got a lot of people that's curious a lot of times, so they might step in and say, "What about this?"
well, I don't know what else to cover other than what's happening in Gaza, the Charlie Kirk assassination, because that is very significant in this. Because um, you know, I didn't listen to Charlie Kirk much. I really didn't know that much about him. I had heard about Turning Point, but when we look into his death, it's humanly impossible for someone to shoot him with a rifle with a 30-06 and his skeleton be too strong that it stopped the bullet. I'm sorry, that's humanly impossible. It's humanly
Right.
impossible for him to be shot from the angle they claim he was shot from. So, what we're entering an era, and it's like I tell people, word of mouth advertisement is the best advertisement a person can have, whether for business or personal reasons. But spread the message, spread this video around. Uh, you know, tell your friends, um, people at church or friends in your community to check out these videos and do your homework. The information is on the internet. It is easy to access. You can go to the North Fox Island pedophile ring and get the information about it. Dean Coral and um, Archibald Sloan and a lot of these other people that were tied in with John Ramsey and this bunch from Marietta and Murphy.
And we even know that John Ramsey had been with the what was that girl? Was it after she had died? Then he got with the mom. Was it Holly Bobo or who was it? I can't remember.
Beth Holloway,
Beth
Natalie
Holloway.
Holloway's
Okay,
mother.
got with Beth Holloway, and he had a place here in Tennessee for a little while.
Yeah, like I said, he's nomadic. He bounces around. He can't stay in one spot very long. He's in Utah my understanding now, out there close to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, he's remarried.
Hmm. Um,
I thought I had a picture of her. I'm going to go see right quick. Let me check it out. Yeah, I got it right here. Let me show everybody the his wife that he's married to right now. So
well, we can add her to the prayer list. We don't know that much about her.
right, that's
We
for
don't know
sure.
if she's a lunatic like he is, or if she's you know
Let
uh,
me find it
misguided
again.
misguided soul married to the old codger. But I know that instead of attacking Burke, people need to be looking at John Andrew.
So here's the couple right here.
Hmm. I think I've seen her somewhere before, but I can't place it, and I don't even know her name. Um, but I think it's going to be with this crowd from Atlanta that he's always hung with.
Yes.
Yeah, we've already discussed who all that was.
Yeah, there's some more we didn't go over, but whatever. But we had so many other talks about it
Well,
in the
let's not
past.
forget Mark Thigpen, the one there
Let me get
beside
him.
Judge McLaughlin. Let me brief everybody on former Drug Task Force Commander Mark Thigpen and former Chief Deputy of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department, Murphy, North Carolina. Suspect in the Atlanta child murders, suspect in the West Memphis 3 homicides, also a suspect in the homicide of John Benet Ramsey, and also a suspect in the homicide of Levi Frady.
Levi also.
Yep. Also a party to the bombing of the Alfred P. Murray Federal Building. I know 100% for a fact that he was part of the plot to bomb the FBI field office in Mobile, Alabama, the morning of January 29th, 1998. He was guarding the back alley of the strip mall there in Andrews, North Carolina, where the Radio Shack was located at the time when they were over at the concrete plant.
Uh-huh.
It used to be there in Andrews where the park is located at today.
Right.
Over there building truck bomb number 14. He was keeping an eye to keep people out of there to where they couldn't see him back there building that truck bomb to hit the FBI field office with.
And that is Zell Miller right here. He was the ex-governor of Georgia.
And former U.S. Senator. He's grew up with the
And,
Cook brothers, Frank, John, and Robert Cook. He was like family to the Cooks. They're the ones that had the hydrogen bomb.
right.
Um, actually, Zell was in Boulder on Christmas Day, believe it or not.
Wow. And here's Shirley, his wife.
Is that how Shirley looks today? Yeah.
This is 2021,
Yeah, that
and
is
this was
central banker Shirley Carver. I don't know if she's still president of the Federal Reserve Bank branch in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you want to know who besides BlackRock was involved in this mess, well, we got the Federal Reserve Bank.
mhm,
Mark Gold, during our meeting in October of 1999, they went in and did an audit. That's Randall Bentley Sr., Bentley, and Bentley Law Group, another one of them.
uh-oh.
But they found out that the deficit had been paid from the hidden interest and fees on the mortgages of the homes in the United States, that the deficit had been paid. That is former Congressman and former Senator Johnny Isaacson in Gridiron. He was in involved in the fight to overthrow the United States government. That is Tommy Chapman, former president of the District Attorneys Association of the state of Alabama. That is who the movie Just Mercy was made about, the district attorney who wanted to keep Arthur McMillan on death row for a crime he knew Arthur did not commit. As my ex-wife's second cousin, he was become governor of the state of Alabama after Governor Bentley, but I sunk his ship over the Andy Etheridge scandal down there in Evergreen, Alabama. That's a later picture of Big Ray Duncan.
For Duncan Oil, right?
Yes, ma'am. Also, Toomey Cellars and Silver Oak Cellars and Napa Valley and Oakville, California. That is Waylon Joseph Davis. He is the suspected anonymous caller of the Centennial Park attack. He is actually the bomber of the new women's health care clinic in Birmingham, Alabama. Was driving Eric Rudolph's pickup truck that morning. He is also a suspect in the homicide of Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, Christopher Byers, John Benet Ramsey, but I don't think he was incoming when Levi Frady was murdered. He's also my suspect of the January 5th, 2021 attempted bombing of the RNC and DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. Now, there's another friendly devil for you. One of the most friendliest devils you'll ever meet in your life is real estate Atlanta broker, Jeff Carrier. Jeff has decided that he would try 4 attempts on my life from 2001.
Here's another one of him, too. You would not think that that's the same guy, but it is.
It is. He's had to take down his Facebook pages because went in there and exposed him on his Facebook things. He was the hi-ho guy. He had him real friendly. Real friendly devil. Most of them are real friendly. Oh, Randall. There's Randall's brother, Fred Bentley Jr. These are some of the nicest people you ever meet.
And this is Fred Bentley Sr., right?
Senior, yeah, the keeper of the crypt.
Yeah, Tales of the Crypt. That's where I think of. Oh, my goodness. And then there's, we got Ed Bentley, Doug McRae, Danny Hughes. We got all that Bobby Cook, The Blockade, Bernie Marcus. We got about all the other pictures, I think.
Yeah,
we do have Richard Evanetz. I can't remember why I got him.
Yeah, Ricky Evanetz.
Don't know why I got him on here, but I do have him on here too. There's also Steve Gould.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, that's fun. There's 2 Steve Goulds, Marietta, Georgia. One graduated Sprayberry High School, one graduated from Wheeler. This is the one who graduated from Wheeler. Now, Jeff is a pretty tough guy with this little snub-nosed 38 in his right pants pocket.
And this is Steve.
When I had my confrontation with Jeff Carrier at Papa Doe's on Windy Hill Road, Marietta, Smyrna, Jeff decided he was going to have them take me out and get rid of me. So I wound up knocking one of them out, boy, I remember correctly, by the name of Mark Payne. Steve decided to pull his little 38 out and point at me to discourage me from coming over and knocking him out too. But that's my cousin Wayne, Anthony Wayne Beach.
Yeah, and this was his brother right here.
He was murdered by my brother Fred, and of course his brother there, Robert.
And Robert lives in Florida.
Well, his address shows Florida, but I guarantee you still got his house there off of Barnes Mill Road in Marietta.
That's not good.
Yeah.
See if there's anybody else right here that we did not see earlier. I think we pretty much touched base on all the pictures on here now. But that right here is that Doug McRae that was with a lot of the child murders along with John Ramsey.
Well, if you pulled up the composite sketches of the suspects of the Levi Frady homicide, one is Jim Vickers, Letchuluk's branch manager. He had nothing to do with the homicide of Levi Frady, but the other one is Doug McRae. And you take that picture and you put them side to side, it's kind of like an age to progression composite sketch.
That's right. So I appreciate you everything that you done today. We did got a lot of information out there for the people. Please like, subscribe, and share. And like I said, if y'all would like to talk in Zoom sometime privately, I could give you some information I don't feel safe saying here. And say God bless you and thank you so much, Charles, for coming in and
Well,
helping me
thank
get
you for
this.
having me on. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. And I sure appreciate the questions. The power of prayer goes a long way, and please do share this information with your loved ones and your friends, and always remember some of the nicest people you'll meet in your life are some of the most dangerous that'll kill you in a New York second. So
Exactly.
always be careful about who you meet and who you let in your inner circle, because you just don't know their capacity. Most of them, they have a clean criminal background because of their pulls with powerful people. Helps them keep their criminal backgrounds clean. So you can
Right.
normally tell a person by their criminal background if they have the capacity of doing any harm to anyone or not. Well, these people you can't, because of their clean criminal backgrounds. They're what is described in Red Ryder's song, "The Lunatic Fringe."
Yeah,
Another
exactly.
another song I was always intrigued by in the 1970s was Cat Stevens' "Where Did the Children Play?" And you listen to the lyrics of that, and you get a pretty good generalized idea of what kind of lunatics are running the world right now, especially here in the United States.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. Be careful who you trust. Like I trusted that dude, and I did not really know him, and I did not know that he was a part of whatever, the sex trafficking ring, and I was right there in his house. I praise God for me being able to get out of there alive.
Well, my first confrontation with Joe Pugh was in the 1990s. He confronted me um, by my dad's development on Sandy Plains Road, Hillcrest Oaks.
Right?
He acted like he was ready to get out and fight. Whenever he found out I was ready to fight him, he decided it was time for him to leave in his Jeep. And so
I
that
never.
was really my only confrontation with Joe. He was out there 3 nights before my 18th birthday, out there chasing me around with the rest of the bunch
I
across.
thought he looked kind of. I thought he looked kind of funny because when he was out there dancing, all he got to do is move just a little bit to the right or move to the left, and his arms were already touching the floor. His arms were really long. It's kind of weird, how that was.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of looked like an ape. You don't recognize how long his arms did until he's out there dancing, and it's like, wow, you look like an ape dancing. I was thinking that to myself. I didn't say it.
Yeah, he
It just weighed a
Um,
little bit to the left or right, and its hands are. I mean, it's really close to the ground, you know. But he
well, he
didn't
was
really
a
get
heck of
that
a
far down low.
wrestler.
It's kind of wow, huh?
He was a heck of a wrestler back in high school, from my understanding. You know, Sprayberry High School, that area was the roughest area in all of metropolitan Atlanta in the 1980s and 90s. Most violent um, area of metropolitan Atlanta was East Cobb.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Joe and his buddies that they stole the Shoney's Big Boy one year and put
Oh
it up
no.
in front of the school. Then the next year they put a Volkswagen Beetle up on the school.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody was trying to figure out how they all did that, but it was all the football team and wrestlers, and all of them got some ladders and actually toted that car up the ladders.
Wow.
Um,
That much weight, you would think that it would bend a ladder or whatever, you know?
nah, that car wasn't heavy at all. There was only like 15. Yep. And
Wow.
he was part of it.
I
He
guess
had
that's
already
one way to scare
graduated
people
from
too, though, you
70.
know, by showing their strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he was class of 75.
Because it's kind of funny because when I looked up that name, what's the purpose of unaliving the children? Well, there's plenty of different reasons because the fact that they drink the blood, they all kind of different child sacrifices to their god, Satan. You know, there's so many adrenochrome. There's too many reasons why they do that.
Yeah,
What's your take on that?
you have to be initiated into their club. If you're not initiated into their club, well, you're not welcome.
Yeah, and I just happened to be one of them that was not unalived. Um, but I had to see the ones that were unalived hanging there, and that's something that I'm never gonna be able to get out of my mind seeing that.
Hmm. Well, I'll never be able to relate to why somebody could go out and take another person's life in cold blood, but
I,
especially that of a child.
and I'll never understand how somebody can think a 2 year old or an infant is sexy or a kid, you know, for that matter. I really don't understand that concept. No matter, even if I was done that way, I still don't see it that way. Okay.
Well, I understand how it feels to have to kill somebody in self defense, and
Yes.
it's not a fun it's not a fun thing to have to live with,
Right.
um, because you had to take another person's life. You don't know if that person could have changed to the better or worse. You know, I always like to think that there's a good side in everybody, that people can change, for the
But we're
better,
waiting
for
on
the
we're waiting
worse.
on these ones right here we just mentioned to change, and it ain't done it yet.
Yeah. Well, we got the courts that over here trying to throw out Mr. Kiss's case, but he's got solid grounds for tort, as
Exactly.
solid as a need, and you know, he's screaming two-tier judicial system, and so far they're proving a lot of people right. You know, if if we have an element in this country that is above the law, then we have a two-tier judicial system. Um, we will not have justice until these people are held accountable.
Yeah, there's a lot of other clubs, not just Masons, that do this. You know, there's a lot of Satanists. You know, there's you
Well,
see her questions.
people think that the Skull and Bones is who's in charge. No, Skull and Bones answers to the Gridiron, and the Gridiron is based out of Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, and it's you see all these football players with these Mason rings, and the higher up the masonry, the higher up their likelihood to do.
Well, they say that there's a 33rd degree Masons, and then there's not. It's the gridiron. It's the skull and bones. It's those secret societies, and um, I don't think there's I don't think there's any type of sacrifice in Freemasonry up to the 32nd degree. So
You're
when they
supposed to go
say
it so
33rd
far.
degree Mason, it's a hoax. It's non-existence. You're talking gridiron. You're talking the secret society of all secret societies. They built the Georgia Guidestones. You can research what their agenda was on the Georgia Guidestones when they were first erected. It freaked everybody in Elberton to Athens to Atlanta out when they constructed those things. You go out there, you can't even see any trace of where they stood. And they always vowed that they would destroy them since they failed in their agenda in order to try their new approach to their new world order. And their new world order, believe it or not, is going to be like Israel. Okay, it's not a democracy. It's um, it's an apartheid state. It's white supremacy. It's you know, that's why they're so supportive of Ukraine. Ukraine's not much better under Zelensky. Um, so these people should not be running countries. They need to be sitting in prison. Zelensky, Netanyahu, and the list just goes on.
Like you
Okay.
said, when they first start out with the masonry, it's made to believe that it was kind of like a Christian thing, and then you find out that a lot of the kids that's below them in the younger masons and stuff like that, they're used for the sacrificial things at times, right?
Not that I'm aware of. I was in the DMLA.
Okay. Well, I thought
Okay.
they were starting to come after some of the people that were younger, didn't they?
I know they came after me, but it was all
Hi,
back
Sheila.
to Bentley Farm, Bentley Lake Farm. Hello, Mrs. Helms. Um,
Yes, I had heard a couple of people that was lower before with the Demerlay, and they were not with Bentley Farms or nothing, but they were, um, used in that way and changed also.
well, I didn't see it. Um, I didn't experience anything like that, or I would have left the fraternity immediately.
Right.
I know every summer we'd have what was conclave, and that was I always looked forward to it because everybody dressed up in the suits and the girls um, in their prom dresses, and they'd have a big old banquet and dance and all of that. And I've always been a dancing fool, to be honest with you. So I always look forward to going every year to dance with the Rainbow Girls. But I
So,
never, I've heard rumors like that, but I never saw any of that.
yeah, and
When
he's
I
not
say I
saying
heard
by
rumors,
he's not, and y'all, he's not saying that it don't happen. He just said he never experienced it. Everybody's story is different, okay? So he never experienced that himself, okay? Just that's what he's saying. He's not saying it don't happen. He just said he never experienced it. Okay.
yeah, I never seen it happen. Never witnessed anything like that happening when I was in the DMLA or when I was in Mason. So, um, and I didn't go to the third degree, and I never will. I stopped at the fellowcraft, and uh, you know, I have a broader understanding now about the biblical scriptures and King Solomon now. That only thing I could say is, somebody that's in the Masons, pray for them. Hopefully they can wake up to the truth of, what the real basis of their society is. Um, it's not, it's on one of the most wickedest kings in the history of Israel, the third king of Israel. And that was King Solomon.
Right.
And King Solomon was not this great prophetic king or anything like we were raised in churches and Christian schools to think that he was. We were all groomed up that King Solomon was this great, wise king. Well, he was wise, but his harlotry, he married Pharaoh's daughter, got the ports of Alexandria. He let her go into Jerusalem and construct a temple of Isis there in Jerusalem. And all these other kings' daughters he married, they got to go in and build their temples of their gods there in Jerusalem. So Solomon was a very vile, wicked king, one of the most wealthiest kings in the history of Israel.
Right.
Because of the whoredoms and harlotry that he engaged in. So
Right.
now that I realize this and know all this, it'll be impossible for me to go back into Freemasonry.
Right. Wanted to thank you again. We're getting close to 3 hours, so we need to go ahead and close it out. Let you get some rest and enjoy your day. And thank you everyone for coming. And but she did ask if there's other clubs like that connected with hurting kids. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Child Protective Services is a scandal. Nancy Schaefer and Richard Jewell. My buddy Rick White is Richard Jewell. Okay. We tried to expose Child Protective Services in 2006. And of course, anybody that knows anything about Roger and Nancy Schaefer's death, it was ruled a homicide suicide, which we know better. I was supposed to meet with some of the witnesses of their homicides, or Rick. I believe the CIA got him with a heart attack gun because our meeting out there at the college in Demorest, Georgia, didn't go so well with one of the members of the Board of Regents when he showed up that was involved in this stuff. So it's a lot of people involved in it.
See what Carlene said. CPS took her granddaughters in Oklahoma. Sorry to hear that, Carlene.
Yeah, sorry to hear that too. It is just so easy for Child Protective Services to take people's children. That's why a lot of parents are afraid to step up and say anything about their knowledge because they're afraid that CPS or DFACs come knocking on their door, and next thing you know, they've taken their children under false pretenses. And these, not saying all these social workers do it, but a lot of these social workers get up there and they just lie through their teeth in order to get these children. They get $4,000 from Social Security to displacement of children. So if you're wondering where Social Security's money's been going to,
and also per illness that they say that the child's got, even if that child don't have that illness, they're going like that, get that medication just so they get a lot more money straight at the kid, even if the kid didn't need it.
That's right. They'll alienate the child, the foster parents or adoptive parents. They will alienate the child. And a lot of these children, they want someone to talk to is what it is. I know if I was taken from my parents and I was trying to weed out what was going on, I would like some adults to talk to myself, and they'll just give a cold shoulder because they know that the child is going to appear crazy if they don't have some adult to try to figure out. They're alienated from their natural parents. And if there's a bond there, it's really hell. It's what we call parental alienation,
I got
alienating these children from their parents that they do have a bond with. And it's terrible. And some parents don't ever get their children back. Some
yeah,
have spent over $500,000 trying to get their children back and can't get their children back.
like I got a friend at Facebook named Dave, and I had him on here before, and he found out a little bit too late on the first grandchild, and so he ended up losing her, but he had one heck of a fight with the get custody of the second one, and they still, even though he won and he moved to another state away, that state kept coming over there still trying to hound him, saying that he's supposed to be checked out by them. No, they're not. He's in a different state. He won custody. He won the cases. You had no legal rights to keep badgering somebody and stuff like that. So, they would continue to try to hurt the family.
Well, you know, and that's another thing that used to be rough on dads. Their children be used as leverage against them in a divorce, and the mothers would be the ones that normally wound up with the custody. It's hard to get a dad to get custody of the children. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's hard though. And the mothers would sit there, and if they were fall short on their child support or something, oh no, you can't see your children until you pay it.
That's crazy.
That's cruel. You know, I don't care what anybody says. It's not cruel to only to the dad. It's cruel to the children
Exactly. Like
because
when,
you're abusing the children. Is what
like
you do.
like after my husband had beat me so bad, and then I went to court. And so the judge had said the police reports and the medical evidence were inadmissible as evidence of abuse. So I ended up losing the kids because of the fact that he refused to see the damages that was done in the police reports. And so that really, um, that was like a knife in my back, trying to trust the judicial system yet again, and they failed me yet again. And then later on, my ex husband tried to say that I did something, and yet it was his mom that did it. And so on the phone, I had to say, well, you know what? If you want to open up a can of worms, I'll be glad to open up that can of worms and say what your mother did to our oldest kids when our kid was smaller. Okay, so don't go and try to say I did this to any of my kids when it was actually your mom. And I said I will open it up and let everybody know what all your family had done. And so he went ahead and went and told my son, you better go visit your mom.
Well, that's why the whole.
So he's
You
trying to
know,
keep him from seeing me.
mhm. Well, the reason why I wanted to bring up the Child Protective Services thing is to leave it on this note so people can know that not there. There are children out there that are in homes that do need displaced because of the dysfunction, the drugs, and the abuse and stuff like that. Is the reason why these organizations exist. But
That
it's
some
like
people take it to
everything
their
else.
advantage.
These people, they got their foster parents picked out. They'll go in and, foster these children and supply them with the victims. And, that these parents will adopt them and nobody follows up.
Yeah, it's like the two boys that y'all rescued from that Bentley Farms barn. They were both foster kids.
Yeah, they were in foster care. And one didn't want to go back because he's afraid he's going to wind up right back with the same foster parents.
Yeah, they would sell them again, right?
Hmm. So it's the these are the issues that's got to be addressed. You break out the Israel lobby in the United States, you resolve 90% of the world's problems. Um, they are not our ally. They never have been. They never will be. They have free health care, free education, off the American tax, you know, off the American people's money. We don't even have that here. They're into child sacrifice wherever they're at, whether they're in Israel, whether they're in the United States, or whether they're in Ukraine.
Right.
Um,
And Carlene said she's in contact with the adoptive parents. I wonder if the adopted parents are letting you see your grandkids though. I hope and pray they do.
mhm. Any decent adoptive parent would, unless the biological parent they took them from was just totally horrific, horrible. No, I know some foster parents or adopted parents that will allow communication with the children and their biological parents, which
Yes.
is a good thing.
Right. Well, I want to thank you again for coming, everyone. Okay, she has invited me to visit. That is wonderful, Carlene.
Yeah, that sounds like some good adopted parents there.
That
But
is great.
yeah,
See pictures all the time. Well, awesome. Well, goodbye, everybody, and I want to thank you so much again, Charles Rogers. Subject line got very deep, but it was very imperative to talk about.
yeah.
And I thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you everybody for the prayers and support, and hope y'all spread this around. It's more people that are aware of it, much better off we are.
And I know on Facebook it would just save my video for about a month and then it would delete it. So that's kind of bad when it's shared across Facebook unless you get it directly from YouTube and then share it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank y'all again. Please hit the like button, subscribe and share. And God bless you so much. And you have the rest of the day and have a great one because usually today is your rest time, right?
That's my only day of the week I get to rest.
So we'll let you go so you can get your rest.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. God bless.